Wally aside. What did you tell him, and what did you do as far as contacting the league office when they bring Wally back?
Well, it was actually on the third day, and the funny thing about it is when the day that he left, we had a meeting in here. Wally said his piece, and it was hard for me to address the team because I was still, pretty mad about the whole situation. I mean, realistically, we've done everything the league asked us to do, and here you wanted to chop off our heads, and get rid of our leader, and it just wasn't right. It was really hard for everybody to take. Even though we went out and we won 2 games, after that, the third day, I think, the reality set in again, and we were just flat as a pancake, and nobody wanted to be out there. And I was really worried. I thought, man, this is over. But kind of backing up to that first day, my thought was my head started spinning. I said, I got to figure out some way to get him back here. And I just had a thought of saying, well, I'm going to hire him back as the bench coach or hitting coach or whatever, just to kind of get him back in here, whether it piss the league off or not, and just see what happens. And I didn't say anything, but it was kind of funny. A couple of the players came in and said, hey, what would be funny is if Wally came back as a bench coach. And I just kind of chuckled to myself because I'd already had the thought process. And the next day, Wally actually left me an email, or not an email, but a voicemail that night, congratulating us on, the win that night. But I could sense in his voice, that, he wanted to be here, and rightfully so. I let the next day go by. I talked to him a little bit on the phone about a couple of things, and maybe some players that we might be interested in picking up and that sort of thing. Still staying in touch. And the third day, he was actually, he had his stuff all loaded up. I saw him here. I came down the field early. He was, getting his last bag of stuff out of his locker. And I said, hey, let's go to lunch. I want to talk to you about something. And he goes, well, okay, I'll go real quick, but I got to go wash my truck, and then I'm hooking up to the trailer and taking off, So while we're having lunch, I was, kind of figuring out how I could spring this on him without, either embarrassing him or making him feel bad or, whatever, to say, how about coming back as a coach? And I just sprung it, and I said, what do you think? And at first he said, nah, I'm really not interested, I think at that time he was really, resigned to leaving. And, he was going to go back up and see his son play up in Iowa.
Did that happen at lunch, or did it happen over there?
No, it happened at lunch.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah. About the conversation that we were having, you mean? Or?
Yeah, I thought that when I was filming over there, that was first he had heard.
No, it was at lunch. Okay. So anyway, we ate a little bit more and talked a little bit more, and he kind of asked me another question, and I said, well, why don't you think about it? And so we were just finishing up lunch. He was getting up, and he says, hey, do you know where car wash is around here? And so I told him where one was. And he kind of turned to me and he says, who are you going to talk to about the situation? And I says, I'm going to call Chris Allen right now. And he turned back to me and had a smile on his face, and he says, yeah, okay, go ahead, try it.
And what was the league's reaction?
When I called Chris, Chris was all for it, actually. And Chris, he admitted to me that he really didn't want Wally to, be fired in the first place, that it was kind of a thing between, Wally and Jamie, and it was hard for him to get over the, the voicemail message that he left on his phone, and really took it personal and everything. So, I called Chris. I said, here's what I want to do. What do you think? Like I said, he was all for it. Said, let me make a phone call. He called Jamie. He called me back. And then he said he was going to call Wally. So Chris called Wally to tell him that he needed to talk to Jamie Toole. And so they had a conversation. And so about 2 hours later, Wally ended up calling me back and, thanking me and said, hey, man, you started the ball rolling. It looks like they may let me come back as manager. And then a couple hours after that, I got the word. It was supposed to be kept hush-hush until the next day because they were going to have a press conference announcing that, he'd been reinstated.